Alright, this video is to show you how to assemble your Byrna 20 to 25 round drum magazine. You will require the kit, which you can see here. It includes a variety of pieces. You've got your drum bottom here, you've got your follower assembly here, you've got your follower stopper magnet, you've got stopper magnet holders, and then you've got your nylon spacers as well. They serve dual purposes. We have a variety of different strength springs that we can send along with each one, and then you'll need to supply your own actual Byrna magazine itself. So with the Byrna magazine itself, we'll start with that. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the base plate here. We're going to push down on this little piece here, and then we're going to pull out the base plate, whatever this is called. We got a spring, and we've got a follower here. We don't need any of these, so all this can go aside. All we need now is just our Byrna magazine top. Okay. Next, we're going to place inside this lovely little slot. So we've got, this is where our ammo goes, but then we've got this random slot here. Well, what I designed was a way to use a magnet to magnetically stop our stoppers, because otherwise, you know, not using their stopper mechanism, I was going to need some kind of way to be able to stop the followers from being able to come on out. So the way you do this is you have your, I will have it marked, you know, one side is marked, the other side is not, and you'll put the marked side up, as in facing away from your ammo, just like this. And it slides just right down in there like that, no big deal. Next, you have some of these little spacers, and we're going to drop some of these guys down in there as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've got a couple more here. 7. So I can fit about 7 of them in there. Just depends on how you stack them. You can see some of them are kind of stacked. It just depends. Just get it in there so that way it doesn't move. Just main thing is you don't want a piece to be in the way of this channel here. Okay. So once you've got that in there, you'll know that you've done it right and that you've put it in the right direction if your stopper or your follower assemblies lock on like this. If they try to go in, if they keep being repelled, or if they only want to go in on their side like that, you've put it in the wrong way. You probably need to flip it. So if it locks on like this, it means you've done it right. Okay, so from here, all you need to do is you've got your bottom drum. I'd keep it upside down so that way these pieces don't come out. And we want to make sure we put it in the correct direction. We've got our ammunition and ammunition port here, making sure they're facing in the correct direction. And this guy is just going to slide just like this onto it. It's going to take some force. I've done this one multiple times already, so it's a little bit easier, so I can do it by hand. But when you do it for the first time, and probably only time, you're going to need to use some serious force. And since this back piece here is to be flush with this back piece, it is okay to just put it down here and just put some pressure onto this piece here with your palm, and there you go, you can hear it click. So now it's on there, pretty much about as good as it's going to get. So looking good, and you can tell that you've done it properly because you can actually look down there and see that there's nothing blocking the ammunition. So now at this point, you have to decide what type of ammunition you want to be firing. And the reason why I say that is because there's different types of springs, and the different types of springs determine whether or not what type of ammunition you're going to be firing. So obviously, if you're going to be using chemical rounds, you don't want to be using really, really strong springs for that. So today we're going to install for some lightweight kinetic rounds and for chemical rounds, and these are going to be what we call the softer springs, and I'll have them marked for you so you'll be able to tell the difference. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in my soft spring 1. That goes in first. Then, so as you can see, I just feed it in. Then I'm going to put in my spacer, and this is just so that way the two springs don't bind up with one another. So I'm just going to put that right there. And then I'm going to put spring number 2 just behind it here. and literally all you're doing is just cramming it on in there. There you go. And my followers are already ahead of me, but basically they're going to go into the next step is these guys go in. Now you'll notice there's two different types. You've got the 3 magnet follower, and then you've got the 1 magnet follower. Well, you want it in with the 3 magnet going in first, with the 1 magnet going on top. Okay. Then from there, you just again keep cramming it on in there. And now, if you did it right, you'll notice even though it's under tension and there's springs properly installed, your follower is not going out. Now, let's say you want to take your follower out, and you want to take the springs out, you want to take everything out. Basically, the simplest way I've determined to do that is to hold down your ball lock here and just thrust it as hard as you can. Okay, now if you've got the ball lock open, it won't do that. But if you push down on this and just thrust it as hard as you can get them to go ahead and come on out. That's if you want to remove your springs. So since we don't want our springs to be removed, we're just going to go ahead and push these guys back on in there. Well, one of the nice things about this design is, let's say you run out of ammo on your drum and you manage to somehow get your last follower out, up and out. Well, because of the way the Byrna works, it won't fire when you're out of ammo if this piece is all the way up into the breech. So even though it's not supposed to, even if you manage to somehow make that happen, it will not fire because it will not be able to close because of the length of these followers. And I made them specifically this particular length so that way they cannot be fired out. All right, so after that, loading ammunition. I've just got some kinetics here. Some basic kinetics. I don't even know who made these. I've got so much stuff scattered all over the place. And all I'm doing is just hand thumbing them down in there. You know, it doesn't take much. And just cram them in there. And I like to keep one extra thumb on there because this ball lock mechanism is not meant for this much ammunition. So I like to just push down on it. All right. Just real simple. Thumb it in there. As you can see, it's just adding ammo. I was shooting the Eco Kinetics, I think is what, or the Eco Trainers or whatever they're called, in the backyard the other day. And they've got I'm pretty sure they use talcum powder as their material. Made the whole backyard smell like weed. Okay, so as you can see, crammed a number of them in there. I lost count, but you can probably fit about 25 or so of the kinetics. I would recommend less if you're using the chemical rounds, just simply because I keep hearing about people cracking their chemical rounds on in the normal 5-round mags. So I would suggest maybe not cramming this thing completely full with chemical rounds. I'd say when you start getting around to maybe around this area or so, maybe not putting too much more pressure on them. But I mean, you can give it a shot. I mean, there's so many different types of ammunition out there. There's so many different companies that make ammunition now. That you just test it out, see what works. But right now we've got the soft springs in, and they will push these. These are very light kinetic rounds of one form. They're, I think, barely. I don't even know if they're even 3 grams, but they'll still give you a good wallop, that's for sure. But these lighter springs will push it no problem. But if you are going to be using heavier stuff like Grimberg rounds, like some of these big heavy ones. I'm going to be using Grimberg rounds, which if you're going to go heavy, these are what I recommend because these guys are quite durable and they do quite a bit of damage. So if you're going to be going for heavy duty ammunition, these guys would be what I'd use. But if you're going to use big heavy stuff like this, that's when you'll want to use the heavy spring. And I will have the heavy spring install or included and marked for that for you guys to be able to determine, you know, which one's which. And you always put the heavy spring in the back, so that goes in first, and then the lighter springs are always what go in the front. And yeah, beyond that, it's just you've got your Bryna. I do recommend you getting the 12 gram extender piece onto this. These things will fire, all of them, but it starts losing power. So obviously using the 12 gram is a little bit better. And beyond that, you know, you just put the thing in your gun and it's ready to rock and roll. Should be able to see the round loaded in there if I can get the angle just right. Maybe not. Okay, I'll need a flashlight, but yeah, it'll be loaded. And yeah, at that point, it's rock and roll. Yeah, so that's it. Pretty basic. And then if you needed to clean it out, or if you wanted to, like, you know, do anything differently with it, you can always remove these two back screws here. You can move these screws. The clear base plate comes out. You can get in there, clean it out. Obviously, you can, if you take a hammer, you can remove this connection here. Just make sure that you place it up against something flat on this side, so that way when you whack right about here, you can get this piece to come off. But yeah, if you're using kinetics, or if you're, you know, not using anything really dirty, then, you know, you probably don't need to really worry about that too much. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys.